Thank you for joining me today. We're going to work on a balance and stability flow. If you live in a cold area, there's a lot of ice starting to form on sidewalks and in parking lots. So we can move our bodies in a way to help us prepare for those situations to keep us safe and keep us upright. So we'll mostly be working on our legs and our core, but you'll bring movement through your whole body as we practice today. You can begin standing on your mat. Bring your awareness to your breath, paying attention to your inhale and your exhale. Feel free to close your eyes or leave them open and just kind of focused on one point. Notice how you feel today, whether it's morning or afternoon or evening. And give yourself permission to be present in your movement practice. If you're able, inhale deeply through your nose and with a deep sigh out your mouth. You can do that a couple more times if it felt good. And as you open your eyes, if they were closed, why don't we just do a little shake? Kind of shake all your body, your arms, your legs. Let your body know how it feels to move today. And then bring your feet to about hips width apart and bring your weight back into your heels. Try to line up your ears to your shoulders, your hips, and then to your ankles so you have a straight line down the side of your body and everything is stacked. And then we're going to lift your right arm and reach over to the left side, trying to keep your hips still towards the front facing and just rotating in your upper back. So reach and bring your arm up and over, reach, up and over, reach, up and over, reach. Just let the movement be kind of fun and to flow naturally. Letting the creaks come out of your arms. You can inhale as you bring your arm up. Exhale all the way out as it comes back down. And then come back to center. Bring your weight back into your heels again, kind of reestablishing. And for this part, if you need to grab onto something, feel free to have a chair or something nearby or even a wall. But I'll show you what we're doing first. You're going to bring your weight into your left foot to raise the right leg up. And then you can put your hands on your hips if that helps with balance. We're gonna do hip cars, so bringing some movement into the hip joint. You're gonna bring your leg out to the side, tilt it up, extend it back, and then forward. So they're kind of these hip circles. The goal is to keep your hips kind of facing forward, your hip points. Keep your ribs pointing down towards your hip points. And let the movement all come into the joint. So bring your knee up, out to the side, lift your leg or your foot, and back. Try to stay as still as possible in the rest of your body. And keep that standing leg strong so your hip doesn't pop out to the side. And this is where, if it helps to hold on to something, even like this. I'll show it from this side too. Up to the side, tilt your leg, and back. And then we're going to reverse, so you go back and then up and forward, going the other direction. And then we'll turn, do the other side. So I'll do it from the front first. You're going to bring your weight into your right foot, keeping your weight back in your heel and making sure that hip doesn't pop out to the side. Lift your left leg, bring your knee out, bring the foot up, and then back and forward. I'll show it from the side too. And then after you've done a few that way, you can reverse, going back, out, and forward. This is a great movement to bring more mobility into the hip joint. We tend to just stay in the same sagittal plane, walking, running, biking, and this gives us some movement diversity, which your joints will thank you for. So then you can kind of shake that out, do a movement that feels good. After that, notice how it feels different. And then we're going to turn to face the front of our mat and come into a hip hinge. So your weight's back in your heels again. You bend the knees slightly and just kind of stick your buttocks out. And then let's just hold here in kind of a small squat. Inhale and exhale. And then you're going to twist your rib cage like the lid of a jar to the left side. Be careful not to turn in your lower back. Try to keep the movement up in the mid-back. And then to the right. If I come to front, the right, go to the left again. And to the right. And to the left. And then stand up. Lift your arms up, reach towards the ceiling. And then fold down. Knees can be bent. And then step back into a plank. From the plank, you can have your knees down or up, whatever works for you. Really press into the mat with both hands to stabilize the shoulders. Just hold here for a couple of breaths. And then lift the hips to press back into downward dog. You can step out the feet, giving stretches to each calf. Inhale and exhale. Come back forward into plank and step your right foot forward into a lunge position. Press your right foot into the mat to stabilize the leg. This is a place where if you like to use blocks, they can be very helpful on each side to give you a little bit more space. Keep your legs strong with your right leg pushing into the mat and the left leg stretching behind you. Inhale and exhale. Step your right leg back into downward dog. And then step the left leg forward, getting comfortable in this position from the other side. So again, press your left foot into the mat and reach the right leg back, keeping the legs strong. Take a couple more breaths here, letting your body get familiar with the lunge position, because we'll be doing a few of these. Place the hands down, step back into downward dog. Come forward into plank. Feel free to be on your knees if that's more comfortable, but really press the hands into the mat to stabilize the shoulders. And consider externally rotating your arms so your elbow pits face forward. From plank, let's step the right foot forward again. And this time, press your right foot into the mat to regain that stability, and then float the fingers up. And if that was comfortable, you can come all the way up into a high lunge, bringing a slight bend in the back knee. Continue to press that right foot into the mat. And in this lunge, your hips should be kind of straight up and down with your hip points facing straight forward like the headlights of a car. Bring your hands down, step back into downward dog, and then bring the left foot forward. Once you have your stability with your left foot firmly pressing into the mat, float the fingers, and then come all the way up, bringing a slight bend into the back knee so that your hips can be straight. Come back down, step back into plank, and then downward facing dog if that feels good. At any point, feel free to go into a child's pose or rest when you need it. Again, let's bring the right foot forward, press your foot into the mat to come all the way up. Again, we're going to be in this upright high lunge. And once you have your position, your hip points are facing forward, we're going to bring a slight tilt and tuck into the pelvis. So this is hard to see, but you're going to tuck your tail, point your tailbone down towards the ground and try to tuck your tail in so that it brings a deeper stretch into this left hip. And then tilt the tailbone to go the other way. Do that gently back and forth a few times, kind of a little massage for those hips. After a few of those, we're going to go the other direction. So think about pointing your left hip towards the side, kind of like sticking out a sassy hip, and then to the right side. We could call this sassy hip. So like you are shaking your hips, but it's still a very gentle movement just in those hip joints. If in your body you don't really move at all while I'm in the way that I'm saying, think about trying to accomplish the movement and see if you can feel a difference in your body, in your hips. So if it feels good, you could do back and forth again, that tuck and tilt, and then to the side. And then place your hands to the ground, stepping back into downward dog. Inhale and exhale, and then step the left foot forward, floating the fingers to come all the way up again into our lunge, firmly planting both feet, trying to kind of think about pulling the femur bone in towards your hip socket. And then we'll do that tilt with our legs the other way. So you're going to tuck and tilt the pelvis. You may notice it's easier in one position than in the other one, and that's normal. And then we'll go sassy hips back and forth. The movement's very small. Don't forget to breathe. Keep your jaw relaxed, your shoulders. Make sure they're not pulling up towards your ears. Okay, bring your hands down. And why don't we go into a child's pose, but continue to reach your fingers out towards the front of your mat, keeping it somewhat active and bringing a stretch into the shoulders. Inhale and exhale. And then we'll come back up into plank, and let's bring that right foot forward again. And come all the way up into your high lunge. As we press into the right foot this time, you're going to begin to transfer your weight to the right foot, coming up into a balance, sort of a warrior three, extending your left leg behind you, reaching the left leg towards the back wall, and keeping your weight in the back of your heel of your right foot. Feel free to grab onto something if you need a chair or a wall. Otherwise, you can bring your hands to prayer or reaching behind you, whatever feels good. Try not to square the hips. We're not worried about that in traditional warrior three. They say to square the hips, but we want to really focus on this stabilizing leg. So keeping your weight back in your heel, making sure this hip is not popping out, and reaching the left leg back towards the wall. Gently bend your right leg to come down, and then we're going to pop back up. So I'll show you. You're going to slowly come down and then pop back up. Slowly step back and then pop back up. Try to do a few of those. Again, you're welcome to use something to hold on to for stability and really work on the balance of the right leg. And let your return to the ground with your left foot be as slow as possible. But then pop back up. Do a couple more. And then when you step back down, bring your hands to the ground, stepping back into downward dog. Inhale and exhale. Give yourself a moment to catch your breath. And then step the left foot forward. And we'll do it on the other side. So you're going to come all the way up into your high lunge, firmly planting your left foot into the mat and transferring your weight forward to come up into this sort of warrior three. Once you have your balance, begin to slowly step that right foot back down and then pop back up. The weight kind of stays in your heel of the left leg. So if you find yourself kind of leaning into your toes too much, you want to keep your toes on the ground, but let the weight really be held by the bulk of the foot. And pop. You may be doing it differently by holding on or holding the poses longer. Do what's going to be best for your body today. It may be different from what's good tomorrow. Let's do a couple more. And then Stepping all the way back and into downward facing dog. Good inhale and exhale. Feeling the work you did for your hips, getting them ready for those slippery surfaces. Let's place your knees down to the ground, coming to all fours. And we'll do a little bit of cat-cow. So firmly pressing your hands into the mat, externally rotate your arms, kind of bringing the elbows in and then to straighten so that the elbow pits are facing forward and the shoulders are stable. And then you're going to gently tuck your tailbone towards the floor and try to move each vertebrae one at a time to bring a full rounding to the back. And then tilt the tailbone up towards the ceiling, bringing an arch into the spine, going one vertebrae at a time again, trying to feel the movement all throughout. Continue in that way, rounding and then arching at your own pace. Inhale and exhale to extend the right leg back and then the left, coming back into plank. Inhale and exhale. And on your next exhale, step the right foot forward once again. We'll float the fingers to come up, but this time we're just going to step all the way forward. You can keep your weight in your right foot. I'm going to turn so you can see me better this way. You don't have to turn on your mat. Transfer the weight to your right foot to float the left foot up off the ground. Really press this foot into the mat to keep this hip from popping out to the side. So we don't want a sassy hip there. Keep it plugged in. And then you're going to lift your right leg up and bring it out. Sort of like you were going to go into tree, but don't actually let your foot touch the other leg. So we're just going to hold here, careful not to pop out that hip. This is a strong position of balance and keeping your leg lifted up. Inhale and exhale. Hands can be at prayer or reach above you, whatever feels good. And just hold here for a few breaths. Relax your jaw. Make sure those shoulders aren't scrunching up towards your ears. And then we'll place the left foot down. Kind of step it out. And then transfer your weight to your left foot to bring the right foot up. Again, make sure this hip doesn't pop out. And really keep your weight back in your heel. And then bring your right leg out to let the left foot float. And do what felt good for your arms. It can be different this time than it was on the other leg. Taking a few breaths here. Can think about that grounding foot like the root of a tree, keeping you planted and strong even in the winter winds. And bring the right foot down. Go ahead and shake the legs out if that feels good. And then we're going to come into that hip hinge again like we did at the beginning. So sort of like a small squat. Inhale and exhale. And then extend the arms out and see how far down you can go. It'll be different for everyone. So make sure the weight stays back in the heels, toes are on the ground. And slowly, slowly, slowly get as close to the ground as you can. Try to hold at each new level. And then come all the way to the ground one way or another, whether it's without your hands or using your hands, to come all the way. Onto your sit bones. You can move your blocks out of the way if you were using them before. And then to get all the way down to the ground, we're going to go into a boat pose. So you're going to tuck your tailbone to rock off the sit bones. You're welcome to use your hands for stability as you go down or keep them out. And see how far down you can go as slowly as possible until you get down to the ground. Try to hold at varying intervals. Pop back up until you come all the way down. Get comfortable. If you'd like to have a pillow, a small pillow underneath your head, feel free to. And keep the chin slightly tucked. Inhale and exhale. You can bend the knees, bringing your feet about hips width apart and just getting comfortable with being on the floor now. Let the shoulder blades relax into the ground. And then you want to tuck your tailbone so that the small of your back pushes down towards the floor. And then tilt the tailbone so that it lifts off the floor. And then you want to come into a neutral position, kind of in between those two, so that your lower back is floating a little bit above the ground, but not overarching. With a little bit of space there, you want the rest of your rib cage and your shoulder blades to go ahead and rest on the ground. Now, as you inhale, exhale fully like you're blowing out the candles on a birth cake. So let's do that together. As you do that exhale, blowing out the candles, you want to feel your abdominal muscles, your whole core tightening and strengthening, like your hip bones are pulling in towards each other. So it may help to place your hands on your abdomen and go ahead and try that again. Inhale through your nose if you're able. If not, it's fine to do your mouth too. And then blow out the candles. Establishing this breath before we do the next moves will help you use your core in a functional way, which is necessary for walking, lifting, balancing, all the things that we do throughout our days normally. So we train our cores to be functional and move when we need them to without telling them, and this is one of the ways. So one more time, let's do that breath. Inhaling to fill the rib cage with your breath, and then exhale all the way out, squeezing in together. This time, as you inhale and then as you exhale, lift your right leg up with a 90-degree angle in your knee. So, inhale, exhale, lift the right leg up. Inhale, tap it down, exhale to bring it back up. So, inhale, tap it back up. So, inhale to bring it down, exhale to tap it back up. Feeling that contraction in the abs and just letting the movement come slightly from your hip joint. And keeping your knee at a 90-degree angle. And then let's go to the other side. Do a deep inhale and then exhale to lift your leg up. Inhale down, exhale back up. Almost like your leg weighs a lot more than it does on that exhale. Let the movement be like you're going through sludge trying to bring your leg up. Okay, so now that we've got that, we're going to do it again, and we're going to add the arms, keeping the breath going the same way, and so that we're in a bit of a dead bug position, if you're familiar with that. This is the dead bug position. So let's go ahead and inhale, exhale to bring both legs up and your arms up. And then we're going to do opposite legs. So we'll practice with the right arm, left leg first. So inhale down, exhale back up. 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 So right arm, left leg. Inhale down, exhale back up. Inhale down, exhale back up. Let's do a couple more. If you get lost, just start again. Exhale up, and then come all the way down. And release. You can do 90-90 with your legs, kind of just letting each one fall to the side. Regaining your breath, because we're going to do it one more time. Maybe you have the hang of it after that first practice. We want to coordinate the breath with the cross-patterning movement. So come back to place your feet on the ground, about hips width apart. Lift your arms up and then lift the legs up. And we'll inhale to bring the right arm out, left leg down. Exhale to bring them all the way out. Really blow out those candles. Be mindful that you still have that little bit of space in between your lower back and the floor, and you're not rounding your spine down to the ground. If you find you can't do that, you're doing too much. And go back to even just holding your arms and legs in the air. See if you can do that without rounding. And then see if you can just do the legs without rounding. If you lose your positioning, then go back to the start, and you'll do more for your body than trying to push yourself through. So wherever you are at, give yourself a few more repetitions or breaths. And then come all the way down. And again, let your legs fall to the side, giving them a good stretch. As you begin to slow your breath, find a comfortable spot on the ground. And I'm going to sit up, but you can stay laying down. Feel free to take a Shavasana if you have time. That gives great benefits for letting the practice settle into your body. But in your cold days out, hopefully we'll all have balance. Remember that balance is found in between the wobbles of life. Namaste.